Okay, welcome back to the Hairy Vlogger channel. Thanks for clicking on the video. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about, and I'm going to keep looking at my laptop because I've got some notes on here. I'm going to talk about what to expect in terms of having a hair transplant in Turkey. So, bit of an introduction. You know that Turkey has become one of the hotspots for medical tourism, especially hair transplants. I remember when I was on the plane flying to Turkey to get my hair transplant, I could see everyone on the way back, probably about 25% of the plane had their hair bandaged up, their head bandaged up because of the swelling from their hair transplant. Some people had things across their nose, so they'd obviously gone to have a nose job. So without a doubt, Turkey has become this hub of medical tourism, and we're going to talk about why that is. So that's the premise of the video. Obviously my channel is all about talking about men's hair loss, trying to make people more informed about what's happening to them and kind of the solutions and treatments, my experience, that will maybe help you on your journey as well. I remember when I was losing my hair, there was content on YouTube, but I felt like the more content out there, the better. And I was watching lots of different vloggers, lots of different YouTubers to try and see their experience as a bit of a case study. So I want to put myself out there so that maybe it helps other people as well. And it would be good if you could subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below to increase that engagement, and maybe we can create some sort of community as well so we can help each other. Why go to Turkey for a hair transplant? So the first thing to talk about is affordability. Obviously it's cheaper. Okay, that doesn't mean you're compromising on quality. Actually, I think it's probably the opposite is true. You get really good quality hair transplant surgeons in Turkey. In terms of how much it costs in the UK, when I was looking to have a consultation for having a hair transplant here, it was going to cost me anywhere between £8,000 to £12,000, which is pretty expensive. And in Turkey, you know, you can see hair transplant packages as cheap as, you know, £1,500 or £2,000, all the way up to about £6,000. That doesn't mean you should go really cheap in Turkey. You know, what you pay for is what you get usually. So if something is super cheap, I'd be a little bit suspicious about that. They might be compromising on the quality of your surgeon or who's carrying out the transplant. The second thing to talk about is expertise. So there are some really experienced doctors, hair transplant surgeons in Turkey. I tend to look for surgeons when I was doing my research that are accredited by the ISHRS, which is the International Society of Hair Restoration. It's kind of like a board of hair transplant surgeons that are accredited, I guess. And they do research in the field, so that's something I look for, whether they're signed up to these different boards. You want to look at how many hair transplants they're doing annually. You want to look at the quality of their before and after results with their patients. You want to check things like reviews as well. But in Turkey, there's experienced doctors, so you know that's why people are going there as well. Next is the all-in-one packages. If you're in the UK, I know lots of my viewers are in the US as well, and I know they offer packages in the US, but there's lots of kind of middlemen who basically work on behalf of a surgeon in Turkey, and they market in the UK, and they offer these all-in-one packages where you pay a certain amount to them, and they sort out the accommodation, they sort out your transport to you know, to have your surgery. They sort out all the communication between yourself and the clinic. It's really good, to be honest. You will pay a bit of an additional fee for that. I didn't look at how much it would cost to go with you know, the surgeon direct, but for me it was worth it. It was all sorted, and I got to speak to someone in the UK who was dealing with the hair transplant clinic. And the last thing is the tourism bonus. I only flew out for 3 days. I flew in, I got the surgery done, and then I flew back. But if you wanted to do a bit of sightseeing, I probably wouldn't recommend that, because in the days after your surgery, you know, you're quite vulnerable actually. Your hair's quite vulnerable as well. You're bandaged up. The grafts are not stable yet. So if you go out lying in the sun, that's not advised. If you go wandering around and you accidentally bump your head, that's not advised. I personally would rest within the first week, probably even 2 weeks, because if you're going to have this process done, you want to make sure it's done, you know, to the best standard and that all of the grafts in your head survive. So I would be resting. But, you know, some people do go wandering around and they enjoy doing touristy things while they're there as well. Next thing we're going to talk about is the process. So the first thing you will do when you're looking to get a hair transplant in Turkey is you're going to approach one of either the middlemen agents, and you ask for a consultation. So when I had my consultation, it was a virtual one. I had to send photos of the front of my head, the side of my head, the back of my head, top of my head. You fill out a transplant medical assessment. So what you're taking at the moment, are you taking finasteride, are you taking minoxidil? They will ask those things. And then they come back with their consultation report. Do they think you're a good fit for a hair transplant? How many hair grafts do you need? Where are they planning to put the hair grafts? Make sure that they're talking about where they're going to put the singles, because some of the hair follicles, one hair grows out of the one follicle. Some of the hair follicles, 4 hair grows out of that follicle. If you put some of the 4 hair follicles at the front of your hair, you're going to have like a Bratz doll hairline or a Barbie doll hairline where it looks very pluggy and unnatural. You don't want that. So you want a doctor that's got a plan for where they're going to put these different hair grafts in your head. Next is your pre-travel preparation. So you've got to make informed decisions, and that's what my channel's about as well, being informed. That's why I'm sharing my experience, so you can be informed. But when you decide to go and have a hair transplant, you need to make an informed decision. You need to look at reviews. You need to go on Trustpilot. You need to go on, I think it's reviews.com. There's a load of different independent review websites as well that you can go on. And I was reading everything before I went to Turkey. I was doing background checks on the surgeon. I was checking everything, because it's a lot of money you're going to spend. It's not so much about the money though. It's more about, this is going to be something permanent on you forever. And the way that you look at yourself in the mirror, you know, it does affect your self-esteem and your confidence. You'll know that if you're losing your hair, because you're looking for solutions, how you can stop losing your hair. So if you have a procedure done and you're not happy with the results, it's going to be there permanently. So you really want to make sure you take your time to do your research, make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. Is the clinic a good clinic? Do they have good reviews? Look for some case studies. That might be on YouTube. I remember at the time when I was looking to have a hair transplant, I was looking for anyone I could find that had been to my clinic and had put some good quality content out there, so I could see how their hair loss had progressed and how it looked like after the surgery. You want to do the same. You want to check what you're going to get. And if the more people that vouch for it, the better. I learned about the clinic I went to through word of mouth. Somebody I know had been there and had a good experience. And then I did my research and I went for it. At some point, you do have to take that leap of faith and you've got to go for it. And you've just got to trust that you've done your research, and then you go and you have it done and you hope that the results are good. And I was really pleased with mine. Then you arrive in Turkey. So after you've done your research, after you've had your consultation and you paid your money and you go to Turkey, what happens then? So you buy your flight separate. That's something to factor in as well, an additional expense. You buy your flight separate. And usually the clinics offer you different packages as well. So the most expensive package is the surgeon has maximal involvement. The second down package, so like the silver tier, I suppose, is the surgeon will do parts of the surgery and then their team of technicians will do the rest. And then I think there's a cheaper package as well. I would recommend you go with the top package. You want maximal surgeon involvement, but that's up to you. They will pick you up. So usually you'll be on a WhatsApp message group with someone from the intermediate company, and they'll send you a WhatsApp saying the driver is here to pick you up. So you time in the time that you're going to arrive, you go meet the driver, you get into the back of the car and they take you to your hotel. So the hotel's included, remember. And that was seamless. It was really easy. Driver picked me up, had a bottle of water ready. You know, they are really prepped for this, and they take you to your hotel. And then we start with the procedure. So the next thing we need to talk about is the actual hair transplant procedure. So I woke up in the morning. If you want to watch any of my videos from the actual hair transplant, I've got them all on the channel. So go back and have a watch of them, and you can see me talk about it in more detail. I'm forgetting some of the things now because it's been a while. It's been about 3 years. But if you go back, you can see my experience at the time. So when you're going for your procedure, you will get picked up by the driver. You get taken to the hospital. The clinic is very close to where you're staying, the hotels. So it is really geared up for medical tourism. Where you're going to stay, the hotel is right next to where you're going to have the operation. It must have been a 10-minute drive, something like that, 5-minute drive. It wasn't very long. Then you go in. It's all very quick. You know, it is very quick. You go in, you see the doctor. He has a look at your photos and you have a chat with him, and he draws the hairline on your head. I was really prepared for my hair transplant, so I didn't just turn up not knowing what I wanted. I turned up knowing exactly what I wanted. I sent the doctor, you know, a presentation of exactly how my hair loss had progressed over time, and I drew a hairline on digitally that I was looking for. I didn't want a hairline that was really far down. I wanted something that still looked natural because my hairline had always had a bit of a M shape, so that's what I wanted. And he actually drew the hairline on first, and I said, no, that's a bit too low. Can you push it back just a little bit? And he did, so that was fine. Then you have your hair shaved. That's a weird experience if you've never had your hair shaved and you see yourself without hair. Actually, my hair didn't look too bad when it was shaved. And at that point I was thinking, do I actually need a transplant? I did still want to go ahead with the transplant, but you know, it's almost a relief when you shave your hair off actually. Then you go into the surgery room and they apply the anaesthetic. They apply it to the front of the head first, so all around the top, and then obviously they do it to the back after. So they apply the anaesthetic. In terms of pain, the anaesthetic wasn't painful. I didn't find that painful at all. We'll talk more about the pain and the surgery a little bit later though. Then the surgeon does the incisions. So the surgeon I had would use a tiny little blade. You want to look for something called a sapphire blade. The sapphire blade is very sharp, very smooth incisions, and I think it reduces the scarring. You might want to have a look into that online about which clinics use the sapphire blade method. And they do loads of tiny incisions on the top of your head. So this is where they're going to put the hairs. So they do thousands of tiny incisions. Then the next step is extraction. So after they've done the incisions, they bandage that up. They lie you on your side and they put the anaesthetic into the back and the side of your head. And that's where they take out the hair follicles. It's kind of like a little drill they use, a little cork borer type drill, and it cuts out a cylinder of your head, very tiny, and then they pull it out with tweezers. And then after they've pulled it out, the technicians will go and cut off the bits of skin that are on the follicle so that it's just the follicles which are left to be put into the top of your head. And then the next step is implantation. So they take the tiny little hair follicles and they put them into the incisions that were made earlier. And if it's a good clinic, they'll put the single hair follicles at the front to make sure it's a bit more natural looking, a bit finer at the front. And then they put the 2, 3, 4s, you know, the multiple hair grafts a bit further back to give you some added density. After the transplant, I will show you some clips. So throughout this video, I'm going to insert some different clips and pictures of what my hair looked like after the surgery. So I'm going to pop that clip up here now so you can see. You can see that the swelling in my head was really bad. It makes your head look a bit funny. It was very red and bloody to begin with. It looks worse than it is, so it does look very bloody. You're bandaged up on the back of your head because those incisions are obviously a lot deeper because they pulled out the follicles for a while, but it heals really fast. It's mainly just you know, bits of blood that have dried on the top of your head, making it look worse than it is. They give you antibiotics, they give you certain sprays to spray on your head to keep everything hydrated. I think it was called an ATP spray. ATP is, it's a biological molecule that gives energy. If you know anything about biology, I'm not sure how much that worked, but I think it helps to keep the area, moist and not too dry. They give you a special shampoo to use after surgery. You don't wash it for a while after surgery, but then you have to use this special shampoo, very gentle, and they obviously give you painkillers. They give you a full-on itinerary of exactly when you take your painkillers and when you take antibiotics. So they sort all of that for you. Now we're going to go through the recovery timeline and photos. So I'm looking at some photos on my laptop. I'm going to put them here as we talk about them. So in this clip, I just wanted to show you what my hair looked like kind of at the peak of my balding. I did use Regain after this. I did use finasteride. I'll show some more clips that were a little bit later on. So the clips you're seeing now are from when I was about 18 to 21. So I was, balding quite badly at this point. My hairline had gone all the way back. I was very thin on the top, which you can see. I was thin on the vertex as well. My hairline was gone pretty much. I started to use Regain and finasteride, and I'll put some clips here of what it looked like just before my surgery. So maybe some improvements after using the Regain and finasteride. So day 1 to 3, you saw these clips earlier. It's very red, it's very swollen. You have to have the bandage around your head so that the swelling doesn't move down your face and get into your eyes. And it slowly comes down, the swelling. Days 4 to 10, scab removal and washing. So you will go to the clinic to have your first hair wash where they get rid of some of the blood and things like that and the debris, and they wash it very carefully. It's still very sore at this point. So days 4 to 10, scab removal and washing your hair. 2 to 4 weeks, shock loss occurs. So if you look at this clip here, you'll see that actually when you move the hair stays in the follicle. So if you imagine this is the follicle, that's the root of the hair, and this is the hair. When they move it to the front of your head, the hair actually stays there for a while. And if you look at this picture, you can see that actually, I think this was 2 to 4 weeks after surgery, maybe 2 weeks, it looked like I had all the hair. It looked like it was all growing, but that's just because the hair hadn't fallen out yet. So then what happens is shock loss. So in weeks 2 to 4, the hair will then fall out. So the follicle stays in your head, but the actual hair that was there before falls out because of the shock of being, removed from the back of your head to the front of your head. But the root is still in your head now, and a tiny baby hair will start to grow out of that root. So 3 to 6 months, you have the gradual growth. Baby hairs start to come through. This is when you have that ugly duckling phase. You look awful. I was going to the gym looking like this, and it looked so bad. I was basically bald at the front. It was still red. It was red for a long time. I think if you've got quite a fair complexion and you kind of like burn in the sun and you scar, pinkish, I think that's why my head was very pink for a while. And then you get very itchy as well because the little hairs are trying to come through the skin. And you get these tiny little wispy hairs that start to grow. It's the weirdest thing. It's the oddest sensation because you go from being smooth and having no hair to suddenly you start to get tiny little wispy hairs. And you're checking every day, you're checking every week to see, is there a new hair coming through? I was worrying that I'd had a failed hair transplant because it wasn't happening as fast as I thought it should. I was thinking, is this the final result? And then week by week, month by month, it gets better and better and better. About 6 to 12 months, that's when you're going to get your final results. I put some clips here of around the 6-month mark. I think this was about 180 days, something like that. And then obviously I'll put some clips of what my hair looks like now, which is 3 years after surgery as well. And I wanted to talk about how it feels. So if you've been losing your hair for a while and it's affecting your confidence and you care about your hairline, obviously you do because you're watching the video if you're still watching, there is no feeling that compares to when you've had the hair transplant and it starts to grow through. It is night and day difference. Anyone that's had a hair transplant will be able to tell you that experience. People that haven't suffered from hair loss, they don't get it. They don't know how that feels. And it was the best money that I'd ever spent in my life. I'd definitely do it again. Your hairline frames your face. So, you know, having that hairline put in, going from having a hairline that's all the way back here to here, it's an immediate impact on your confidence, your self-esteem. It boosts it straight away. You feel better, you feel like you look better, you do look better. You know, that's the honest truth. You do look better, you look younger. You know, having a hairline that's all the way back here and you're trying to scrape it over, it makes you look older. So having the hair transplant was the best thing that I'd ever done, for sure. Costs and any extra fees. So flights are an additional cost to the package. If you want to upgrade anything, that's an additional cost. So I wanted to upgrade to a 5-star hotel. I think they put you in a 4-star one for free. That was part of the package. I paid a little bit extra to have an upgrade because I was only going for 3 days. I'd built myself up to do this process for such a long time. You know, I wanted it to be seamless. I wanted it to be a nice experience. So I upgraded. I think it was an extra £200 or might have been even less than that. I can't quite remember, but you can pay extra to have your hotel upgraded. So speak to your, you know, middle management company, whoever you're going with about that. You might want to get some additional things like a neck brace as well. You know, they might not tell you to get one of those, but I would get one of those because for the first few days you've got to sleep upright. So if you get one of those, it's going to make it much more comfortable. I think they're useless anyway. You know, it doesn't really support your neck that much, but it's good to have one when you go to sleep and when you're on the plane. Get a really good quality one as well. You know, factor in those costs. That's going to be additional. You want to get yourself quality hair shampoo as well for after you've gone off the you know, shampoo that they tell you to use. Eventually that'll run out. And then you want to get yourself some quality hair shampoo. You will know that on the channel, I recommend Waterman's hair shampoo. Go and look at the reviews online. Don't take my word for it. You know, these are shampoos that are built for people who have thinning hair. It's quite expensive. That's why I buy the big bottles. If you use the link in the description, you can get £5 off. And it would also support my channel. I get a little bit for if you click my link and you use the £5 discount. That supports the channel as well. But even if you don't, have a look into it. I use it. That's the shampoo and conditioner that I'll always be using. I don't find anything compares to that now. Whether it makes your hair thicker or not, I don't know, because I've been using it a while now. But it has everything that a good quality shampoo should. So that's something you want to look into as well. I wanted to make everything perfect so that these hairs would grow through and get the best results possible. Take multivitamins, make your diet really healthy. If you're overweight, lose weight for the surgery. You know, this is going to be your life-changing experience. I said to myself that year that I would, you know, sort myself out. I would go to the gym, I'd lose the weight, which I did. I lost a lot of weight for it. I'd get my hair back and I'd eat better. And it keeps you really motivated as well. Concerns about low quality clinics. If the price is too, so this is the rule of thumb, if the price is too good to be true after you've done your research, it probably is. You can get hair transplants really cheap in Turkey. Does that mean you should? Absolutely not, because you might have someone who's just a technician performing your surgery. There are some hodgepodge jobs out there that you've seen probably on the internet, horrific results. That's because these people aren't doing their due diligence, they're not doing their research. And obviously, at any clinic, you can have the odd thing that happens, maybe that is an anomaly, but you do your research, you make yourself informed, you look at lots of different reviews, you deliberate over this for a long time as well. Don't just make a decision to have a transplant in a month. Make sure you've been taking finasteride and minoxidil first. I had really good results from Regain in the first 2 years. My hair grew back really good. Go and watch one of my older videos. It worked really well. So use those things first, and then after, if your hair is still thinning, that's when you go for a transplant and you do quality research, you look at reviews, you ask me questions, you ask other YouTubers questions. That's why this community is here. You know, we will help each other. Look on Reddit, look at any reviews on Reddit you can find. I was looking at absolutely everything. I think the best quality research you can do is watching these videos, is watching actual case studies of people that have had it done, look at their results, see what you think, and you can make your decision based on that. Tips for choosing the right clinic. I've said research, research, research. These are permanent results. Do your due diligence. Make sure you check what you're getting yourself into. Communication from the clinic. Are they transparent? Are they telling you everything you need to know? You know, that they want to sell you the transplant. Are they marketing too hard? If they're marketing too hard, that's a bit of a red flag. And again, look at reviews. Some common questions and concerns. People in the comment section tend to ask these questions, so I'm going to answer them now. Do I need to take finasteride and minoxidil after the hair transplant? The answer to this, so this is my answer, is yes. When you take finasteride prevents DHT causing your hair to disappear, to bald, basically. So to keep your hair looking thick, you want to maintain the most amount of hair on your head, right? If you have a hair transplant, they will restore your hairline or they'll restore your hair wherever, and those hairs will be resistant to DHT. However, your other hairs will not be resistant to DHT, okay? So if you stop taking finasteride after your hair transplant, the rest of your hair will continue to bald. So if I've got hair transplanted hair all at the front, if I stop taking finasteride, the rest of my hair will potentially bald more aggressively. Minoxidil will make your transplanted hair and also your normal hair be better quality. It'll increase the blood flow, increase the nutrients getting to those hairs, make them thicker, make them stronger. So it's just going to improve the results. I would recommend you keep with them indefinitely. Is it painful? I mentioned this earlier, didn't I? I did find it painful. Probably 1 in 20 incisions, 1 in 20 extractions, I felt, you know, and it was painful. I told the doctor said you can only have so much local anaesthetic, which I understood, but it was painful. I don't think the anaesthetic really got all of my nerves in my head. You know, there's lots of nerves. I don't think it dulled all of them. And every now and then it was painful. You know, I was sweating. I could feel I was sweating because I was so anxious for the next, you know, incision in my head. Would it be one that hurts? Would it not? So that's something to factor in. It can be a little bit painful. Would I go through that pain again though if I was balding? Yeah. And you've got to ask yourself that. Are you that worried about your hair? Does it affect you that much that you'd go through a bit of pain to get your hair back? Then you accept that. You go in and you say, right, this might hurt a little bit, and you just go for it, don't you? And it's not super painful. It was painful, but it's not super painful because most of your scalp is going to be numbed, and lots of people have no pain whatsoever. You know, if you check other videos, some people say they fall asleep. Somebody commented saying they fell asleep in their procedure in one of my older videos. I would not have fallen asleep, but you know, you go through that if you want to have the hair transplant. I know some clinics are offering things like massages, or, you know, they put like vibration guns on parts of your body elsewhere, which distracts you from the pain a little bit. So if you're having pain in your head, but somebody's also, you know, vibrating on your leg or on your arm, it kind of stops you focusing on the pain too much. That might be something to look into. Are the scars visible? The scars aren't visible after the hair grows. You know, you can't see any scars on my head now. The back of my head, you can see little patches of where they took the hairs from. And I think this side was maybe slightly over harvested compared to this side. I have shown on previous videos when I've got a skin fade. You probably can't see now, but I'll show you. You can see my hair's a little bit lighter on this side than it is on this side. Am I bothered about that? Not now. Don't look, you know, nobody's ever commented, nobody would ever even notice unless I point it out. So if you look on my head now, you can see that side. Look at the back of my head. And look on this side. it's really not that visible. It's not affecting me, and I can't see it anyway, so I'm not bothered. As long as the front of my hair is good, then that is fine. But most people, if it's a good hair transplant, shouldn't have visible scars because the hair grows over it. Will it look natural? Totally depends on how good your surgeon is, how good the research that you've done. Are you going to a good clinic? If you go to a good one, it should look natural. My hair looks natural. I don't think you'd think I've had a hair transplant unless you know a load about hair transplants and you look really closely. I know lots about hair transplants. I've done lots of research, and when I look at my hairline, I really do not think it looks unnatural at all. It looks like it used to look when I was younger. Will the transplanted hair fall out? So some recent research came out showing that actually transplanted hair, it still can fall out. It is resistant to DHT, but I don't think it's 100% resistant. So it still can fall out. However, I've not noticed it falling out in my hair. Your other hair will fall out though. Okay, so I am still losing my hair, which is making me think about maybe I go for another transplant when I get to age 30. The middle of my head at the top is a little bit thinner. The crown is not too bad, but it is starting to thin. That hair will continue to fall out, but it's not the transplanted hair, okay? So permanent results. My personal thoughts, do I regret it? Not at all. Best thing I ever did. So I would recommend people go and have a hair transplant if your thinning hair is affecting your mental health. The best thing I ever did. I'd recommend it. The other thing I'd say is have a long-term plan in mind. Don't just think by having the hair transplant it will fix everything. It will for a short time, but you've got to have a long-term game plan in mind, because you can only have so many hair transplants. There's only so many hair follicles that they can take from the back of your head because they're permanently removed. They don't grow back then on the back of your head. So have a long-term plan in mind. Is your hair, are you even balding? You know, if you're just receding at the front a little bit, you probably only need one transplant to sort your hairline out. If you're balding quite heavily though, and you're taking the drugs, they can move so much hair here, but what if you need another transplant in the future? You've got to have that long-term plan in mind. Your surgeon should do that, but you've got to have that in mind as well. They should be thinking about not just the results for you in the next 5 years, but in the next 30, 40 years, because lots of young people are going to have it done like myself. So I have to think, well, when I start to lose more of my hair, how much more hair grafts am I going to need in there? Do I want loads of hair grafts, or do I just want enough that I'm happy with the results so that I've got more in the future? That's what I would recommend. You need a long-term game plan. The last thing I want to say is please support my channel. I know you might click off at this point when I'm asking, but you've watched the video, you've got to the end. If you want to see more videos like this and you want to support me, I need that support to keep wanting to do these videos. Just click subscribe at the bottom of the YouTube page. Like the video, comment something. Are you going to Turkey? Has this video changed your mind at all? Is there any questions you want to ask me? I will reply to the comments. If there's something you want to ask me in the comment section. Subscribe to my video, hit that bell notification so you get my videos when they pop up. That would really help me out. If you want to get some hair shampoo that's going to help thicken your hair, it's got natural DHT blockers, get one. Just get one, try it, and you tell me it's not really good quality. The conditioner is really fantastic. It's Waterman's, that's what I recommend. It's what I use. Click on the link in my description and you buy some of their products. Then I get a little bit of an incentive as well, and that'll support the channel to grow further. So take advantage of that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Hairy Vlogger channel.